Hello everyone, I'm Professor Richard Amadeus Harris III. This video I created is designed to help you develop one good usable research question. As you look at this template, you'll notice that the questions become more and more specific within time as we add more criteria. Keep in mind that you can ask a question about virtually anything as long as it involves people that live within the United States. All right? Make sure it involves people that live within the United States. So let's take a look at the template. First, we'll start off with some sociological topics. In this example, here are three different sociological topics. The first topic covers immigration, the second topic, family structure, and the third topic is occupation. So let's create some initial research questions. The first initial research question becomes, how do immigrants feel about the government? That's perfectly fine. The second question becomes, what are the roles of family members? That's completely fine as well. The third question becomes, which jobs offer the highest median income? As of now, each one of these questions are extremely generic and vague. So whenever I read a question like this, I start to think, well, what are you talking about? Which immigrants, which family members, which jobs, and so forth. Now, if right now you start to think, well, everyone, that is too generic and too vague. Think like a researcher. It would be highly improbable for any researcher to actually answer this question. Even if we just focus on just the United States, which I'm asking right now, that's a little bit less than 330 million people. So let's be practical about this. So what we're going to do is we're going to add some social factors and also a social institution. So some examples of social factors are sex, race, ethnicity, gender, income, wealth, occupational status, and so forth. These are some factors in which we can look at different groups of people, separate them, and also these social factors also influence the way these people actually see the world. And if you think about your own sociological imagination, including these social factors in your own life, influences how you see the world and also how people see you. So now let's take a look at our first question. By adding some social factors, the first question now becomes, how do first generation Asian female immigrants feel about the government? So some social factors are Asian females. Here we go. Are we going to focus on males in question one? No, not at all. We're going to focus on females, more specifically, Asian females. Number two becomes, what are working class Latin fathers' roles in families? So we added working class and also Latin and also father. Are we going to focus on mothers or even middle class mothers in question two? No, not at all. Question three now becomes, which jobs offer the highest median income for African American bisexual females? All right, here are the social factors right here. Are we going to focus on heterosexual males in this question? No, not at all. So the social factors narrows down the group of population. Lastly, we're going to make sure that each of these questions has a social institution into the question. Social institutions are large formations that have patterns in society. As far as our research question is concerned, this is going to specify where are we going to look for the behavior. Are we going to look for the behavior everywhere? No, not at all. Remember, think practical, be pragmatic, think about this from a scientific perspective. So some examples of social institutions are culture, media, health, family, education, and so forth. So now the first question becomes, how do first generation female Asian immigrants feel about the federal government from watching television? So now we've made the government a little more specific. Are we talking about local governments? No. Are we talking about state governments? No. We're focused on the federal government. Also, we're focusing on television. And television is a component of the media. That's where we're going to look for these phenomenons, where they are receiving this information. The second question becomes, what are working class Latin fathers' parental roles in conservative Catholic families? So this is becoming more and more specific as well. We added some religion and also some political viewpoints as well. The third question becomes, which occupations offer the highest starting median income for African American bisexual females majoring in STEM fields? All right, so now we've included education in this third question, more specifically, even a major field of study. So in this case, it is STEM fields. So you may notice that some of these questions may have social factors from the initial component. They may have a social institution from the initial question as well. That's completely fine. The goal of this assignment is to have one usable research question with sufficient amount of social factors and at least one social institution. Generic questions tend to result in generic answers. Another component of this assignment is to send the motivation behind the question. In other words, why are you even asking this question? Why is it even important? Now, we'll say this. If you have difficulties writing the motivation behind the question, then I strongly suggest asking a different question. If you yourself, the researcher, are unmotivated to write the question, then it's going to make a really, really challenging paper to write. So find a question that truly interests you. It'll be so much easier. So if anyone has any questions about anything whatsoever, then feel free to contact me at any time.